Let's talk about the Defender 110. It is a vehicle built for the modern explorer. Gretch, I have a friend who's extremely adventurous and she loves her Defender 110. It's a vehicle that looks tough because it is tough. The Defender boasts an exterior design for optimum durability. It has a raised hood and sculpted grille that give the Defender 110 a modern edge.
Yeah, it has 3D surround cameras with clear sight ground view that let you see underneath the vehicle and anticipate obstacles in rough terrain. Clear sight rear view offers an unobstructed rear view even when you can't see through the back window. Driver aid technologies make driving and parking simpler. Intuitive driver displays are customizable to your journey. Design your Defender 110 at LandRoverUSA.com. Visit LandRoverUSA.com to learn more about the Defender 110. Explore the Defender 110 at LandRoverUSA.com.
There's something about a love story that takes your breath away, not because it's perfect, but because it's impossible. Imagine finding the person you were meant to be with in the very place designed to destroy you. Imagine choosing love when everything around you is hate, everything designed to strip away hope. That's not just romance, that's survival, that's destiny. That's exactly what you'll feel watching Bao, Artist at War. The film opens September 26th, and you can visit baomovie.com to see the trailers.
If you were moved by Schindler's List or even the bittersweet hope in Jojo Rabbit, you'll understand why Bao is different. This isn't just about what was lost, it's about what was found. Bao, Artist at War, tells the remarkable true story of Joseph Bao, a brilliant artist and master forger who risked everything to help others survive. Bao, Artist at War opens September 26th. Visit baomovie.com to watch the trailer and learn more, or sign up your organization for a group screening. Again, that's baomovie.com.
Lemonada.
Hello and welcome to Happier, a podcast where we talk about ways to make our lives happier, healthier, more productive, and more creative. This week, we'll talk about why we should take the trip, and we'll share listeners' thought-provoking answers about the one big thing they tackled. I'm Gretchen Rubin, a writer who studies happiness, good habits, human nature, secrets of adulthood. Joining me today from Los Angeles is my sister, Elizabeth Kraft, my sister, the Sage.
That's me, Elizabeth Kraft, a TV writer and producer living in LA. And Gretch, you definitely make me wiser, so thank you.
But before we jump in, we got this interesting update from Rachel about our discussion of putting your money where your mouth is.
Yes, Rachel said, I recently did this with dog training. Even though my dog passed his therapy dog assessment and canine good citizenship certification in the spring, I signed up for training classes this summer. He has mastered the basics, but the classes gave us new skills to practice and the time set apart to do it. I found a program where I could pay for classes individually so I could go during the summer when I had more time. It was a great refresher of his training that I probably wouldn't have done on my own at home.
So I love that. That's so fun.
Yeah.
It's a way to amplify it. And then this comes to us from North Platte, Nebraska, which of course is where our grandparents lived, where we spent many, many happy summers in North Platte, Nebraska, from Jessica. She wrote, years ago, my husband and I realized we had gotten out of the habit of having people over for dinner. Hospitality is an important value to us, and we discussed why we hadn't been practicing this. We landed on two barriers: the expense of having people over and my lack of confidence in cooking. Our solution was to create a budget category specifically for hospitality, designating funds that could only be used for the purpose of entertaining. It gave us freedom to spontaneously invite people to join us at the park with their dogs for a bucket of fried chicken, or to come to our home for pizza delivery. We didn't have to worry about where the money was coming from or stress about the meal planning, and we are grateful for all the friendships we have formed and deepened through sharing meals together. Jesus taught this put your money where your mouth is principle when he said, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. When we recognize that we aren't living according to our values, we can intentionally invest our money there so our hearts will follow. Oh, very beautifully put.
Yes. Thank you, Jessica. And then Gretchen Meg said, a few months ago, I joined a gym to get my fitness goals back on track. I belonged to a gym many years ago. I know I don't enjoy group classes and that I often get bored with using the same machines and doing the same routine. So I asked about the gym's personal training service and started working with a trainer each week, even though it was an additional cost. This has helped me in many ways. I have a weekly appointment, and if all else fails, at least I go to the gym for that appointment. I have learned new exercises and become familiar with new to me equipment. Both are catered to my fitness level and challenge me to meet my goals. And my trainer emails me a record of my weekly session so I can go through those exercises again between appointments. The routine changes each week, which keeps me motivated and interested in working out. I spent extra money on the personal trainer, but working with her has been instrumental in helping me get back on track with my fitness goals. It has helped me put my money where my mouth is in my desire to gain back personal fitness.
I love all these examples. It's so helpful to think about it in this way.
So helpful.
And before we jump in, remember, we will be discussing the memoir All the Way to the River, the memoir by Elizabeth Gilbert, in an upcoming episode. It is a super compelling page turner, so send us your questions and your insights. We will be talking to her soon.
Yes, I can't wait.
So this week, our try this at home suggestion is to take the trip. And Elizabeth, explain where we got the inspiration for take the trip.
Yes, recently our mom was getting a pedicure and her pedicurist was wearing a shirt that said, take the trip. Mm-hmm. And she told us that, and we were talking about how we've often regretted trips we haven't taken, but we've never regretted a trip that we did take.
And of course, when we say a trip, this does not need to be a trip around the world or a super ambitious trip. This can be you're driving a few hours to visit a little town you've never seen, or maybe you're driving across town to go to a park you've never visited before. It's like take the trip is to make the time, take the energy to intentionally go someplace new and interesting and add that element back into your life.
Yeah, although sometimes it is a big trip. Like the biggest trip that I regret not taking was my friend Todd got married at a chateau in France, a famous chateau. And I just didn't go because, I was young. I didn't have money. Didn't feel that I had the time, but looking back, I said to him the other day, I'm like, I should have done whatever it took to be there because that would have been the memory of a lifetime. Now I regret it.
Well, that's one of the things about trips is they take time, they take energy, they take planning. Sometimes it feels like it's so much work to unpeel yourself from your regular life that you're like, oh my gosh, I'll just stay here and save myself all the work. But then take the trip. And this is my new mantra for myself, which is scheduling is life. If something's important to me, I should schedule it. I should make the effort to put it on the schedule because that is how I'll have the life I want, is by putting it on the schedule. But it can be tricky. And one thing that I think can be useful if you're planning on trips is instead of thinking of trips maybe as one-off or like presenting to you in the short term, should I do it this weekend or should I do it this month? Step back, think of your year as a whole. And then say to yourself, do I want to take one big adventurous trip this year? If so, then when? If I want to go to Kansas City once a quarter, when would that be? And stop, because I think there's a tendency, at least for me, to kind of measure everything and how it fits into my current planning horizon instead of stepping back and saying like, well, if I want the whole year, if I want to have one big adventurous trip and then maybe one like reading retreat where it's very relaxing and not very demanding. And I want to go to my hometown and maybe I want to go on a trip to see some friends. And we've been saying for years, we want to go to see Niagara Falls. How would that look? Because it's a different way of planning when you have a longer time horizon.
One thing I've learned recently, Gretchen, and I've talked about this, is to take a one-night trip.
Yeah.
Or you can think of it as a one-night vacation, depending on what kind of trip it is. But we, a few months ago, just went to Santa Barbara for one night. And I tell you, I felt like I'd been gone for days.
It's surprising how little time it takes to make an adventure, to feel like you've really had a break. And I think that's an excellent point because sometimes, again, it feels so burdensome to figure out how to get yourself unplugged. It's just very tempting not to do it at all. And so, yeah, maybe just say, well, if it's too much to be gone for 5 nights, let's be gone for 1 night. Even spending a day trip someplace sometimes.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that research shows is that novelty and challenge slow time. This is one of the disadvantages of habits. Like, I love habits. I love a life filled with habits. But the more habits you follow, the more predictable your life is, the faster it goes. It speeds up. Your perception of time speeds up when every day is basically the same and when year after year is basically the same. And so if you want time to slow down and feel rich, you want to do something that's new and challenging. And often taking a trip, there's new things. You have to figure out how to navigate in a place that's unfamiliar. You're often specifically doing something like going to a museum or seeing friends or doing something where you're doing something unusual and particularly interesting or engaging. And so that slows time. I remember some friends of mine said that he and his wife felt like time was flying by, and then they had a baby, and then he's like, time stopped and like move forward in a crawl, but in a good way. Like they liked that. They liked feeling that life was slower and more rich. And I think we want to feel like our lives are full of interest, and that when we look back at the end of the year, it feels like a lot happened. And taking a trip, however big or small, is a way to do that.
Yes, that's one thing that's fun about being in television is often it involves taking a trip for work.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely those times stand out among all the other times. Now, I'd love to shoot in LA, don't get me wrong, but when I have to go somewhere, it does add a lot to the experience.
No, even in like my perception of your time, there was the Hungary period. There was the Puerto Rico period. Those times really stand out as significant chapters in a way that other work that you did doesn't, even in my mind, which is sort of funny.
Yes.
But here's something that I would say as a trip, and this is just a hack I learned the wrong way. Think about your season of life. So I remember when Eliza was first born. So here, Jamie and I, new parents, and we had planned to take a trip to Napa, which we're not big wine drinkers. So why we decided to go to Napa, I have no idea. It doesn't really make sense for us. But anyway, we sort of just heard that we should go. So we went. I think Eliza was like 5 months old. This is a terrible trip to take with a 5-month-old. We had to fly from New York City to San Francisco, which is a very long flight. Then we had to rent a car and drive from San Francisco up to Napa, which was a couple of hours. And then we were in a place where it's all about wine tasting.
Right.
I remember looking at Jamie in the car and being like, what were we thinking? Well, we just didn't know enough to realize that the season of life for us had changed dramatically. So when you're planning your trip, I do think you want to say, what does this really mean? Or like, you love to bring your dogs, Elizabeth. And so now it's like, that's a fun thing to think about.
Yeah.
Does a place take dogs? Obviously, you want to figure that out in advance. You don't want to show up with 2 corgis and find out, oh, by the way, we have a policy against that.
Yes.
So you want to think about season of life and like what would work for you for the travel. Do you want adventure? Do you like a lot of exercise? Do you like to be a spectator? How fast paced do you want to be? There's all different kinds of considerations, but the thing is, I think you're right. It's the trips we don't take that we regret. Even that trip to Napa, I look back on it very fondly. Mishaps often make the best memories. We had many mishaps on that trip. I remember them fondly.
So there you go. Take the trip.
Take the trip. So let us know if you do try this at home and how taking the trip works for you. And what trips have you taken or not taken? And how did that affect your happiness? Let us know on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Facebook. Drop us an email at podcast@gretchenrubin.com. Or as always, you can go to the show notes. This is happiercast.com/554 for everything related to this episode.
Coming up, we've got a happiness hack that's something valuable you can get for free. But first, this break.
So we know a lot of you listening out there work in healthcare and wellness. So first of all, because you probably do not hear this enough, thank you. Second of all, if you don't already know about Figs, it's time. Figs make super thoughtfully designed scrubs in high-quality, innovative materials that are antimicrobial and wrinkle-resistant, but still super soft and breathable. They're designed with the details of the job in mind, whether it's a scrub top with a special stethoscope pocket or outerwear that's both lightweight and super warm, because the office or hospital AC is never not on full blast.
They're also so cute. Figs come in a huge range of flattering styles made for every body type and elevated classic colors like black, gray, and blue. But there's also always some fun new seasonal color drop happening. Figs are the scrubs, in other words. And if you're a healthcare professional or if you know someone who is, right now, when you use the code FIGSRX, you get 15% off your first purchase. Just go to wearfigs.com and enter FIGSRX at checkout. Let's talk about the Defender 110. It is a vehicle built for the modern explorer. Gretch, I have a friend who's extremely adventurous and she loves her Defender 110. It's a vehicle that looks tough because it is tough. The Defender boasts an exterior design for optimum durability. It has a raised hood and sculpted grille that give the Defender 110 a modern edge.
Yeah, it has 3D surround cameras with clear sight ground view that let you see underneath the vehicle and anticipate obstacles in rough terrain. Clear sight rear view offers an unobstructed rear view even when you can't see through the back window. Driver aid technologies make driving and parking simpler. Intuitive driver displays are customizable to your journey. Design your Defender 110 at LandRoverUSA.com. Visit LandRoverUSA.com to learn more about the Defender 110. Explore the Defender 110 at LandRoverUSA.com.
Okay, Gretch, what is this week's happiness hack?
Okay, this is something that I just learned. And, we say over and over, libraries are amazing. You can get audiobooks rented through your library. You can get camping equipment. You can get puzzles. You can get science games for your kids. You have to go to your local library and see what's on offer, but it's often extraordinarily surprising what you can get from your local library. Okay, I just found out that you can get a digital subscription to a newspaper through your library. So if you're a person who wants to subscribe to a newspaper, you can get that through your library. Now, I think the mechanics of that are slightly different depending on your library and how the system works. But I had no idea that if you wanted to just subscribe to a newspaper, you could get it through your library card. Frankly, somebody told me that and I was like, really? And so I looked it up. Yes, you can. It's amazing.
Yeah, I had no idea, Gretchen. I had no idea.
Yeah, I think basically if there's something that you want in your life, the first place you go is to the library and see if they have it on loan, because libraries are just extraordinary resources. And I think a lot of people, they just have kind of their school library in mind and they don't realize how much is available to them.
And you can usually find these resources on your library's website by looking for digital resources or something similarly named.
Yes.
And you obviously need your library card.
Yeah, which you can usually get online too, the whole thing. But didn't you get a library card in like 15 seconds or something, Elizabeth? You figured it out.
Yes, when I joined Libby, it could not have been easier. Changed my life.
Yes.
Our parents still check out actual books from the library all the time. It's such a good resource.
So do I in my library. You can see how many books you've checked out, and I'm almost at 3,000. So I'm very excited about that.
Wow.
I know. I haven't read all of them, but I've checked them out.
It's the thought that counts.
And now for listener answers. So in episode 550, our very special episode, we talked about tackling the one big thing, because we often talk about hacks and tips and strategies. But sometimes if we want to make our lives truly happier, there is one big thing that we need to tackle that is going to make a difference. And often that one big thing is very difficult or very distressing or extremely laborious. So it can be hard to tackle it. So we encourage listeners to think about it, and we asked to hear some people's experiences with tackling that one big thing, and we got some really interesting answers.
Yes. Wendy said, what a wise episode. It was relevant and specific, and although I have been listening since the beginning and always get value from your podcast, this one is a standout. Well, thank you, Wendy.
Thank you, Wendy.
She said, I have done the hard things, gotten divorced, taken the reins of a family business, and selling my house and keeping only what would fit in a 10 by 10 storage unit so that I could live nomadically and travel the world. These things were hard, and the process took time. It would have been so much easier to just glide through life. But these are the things that have made all the difference. These are the things that have led to a richer, more fulfilling life. You and Elizabeth gave such a great array of specific examples. I would think nearly every listener recognized at least one that was directly relevant.
And that's a great example. I think, Elizabeth, you pointed out, think about your future self. And this is a great example. Like, here she is from the future saying, I'm really glad that I did those things because they really got me where I wanted to be now. Somebody who wanted to be anonymous wrote, I had been putting off scheduling a serious doctor's appointment, and this episode was exactly the push I needed. Well, see, that is what we wanted the episode to be.
Yes.
We wanted to be the push you needed. So that's great. I figured out what my biggest practical stumbling block was to scheduling, needing to know when my husband would be available to watch the kids, and addressed that last night. With his availability written down, I called my doctor this morning and scheduled the appointment. Many thanks and gold stars to both of you. See, that's a great example how sometimes a relatively small thing can actually prevent us from doing a big thing. And now it's done.
Yes.
And so now the tracks are laid.
Yes. She saw what her barrier to entry was and she tackled it.
Yeah.
Kate said, how funny that just 2 days before the One Big Hard Thing episode, I decided to tackle extremely annoying dental work. I am an adult with wisdom teeth that need to be removed, as well as some crown work. These are all on my back teeth, out of sight, and visibly I have a nice smile. This is truly the definition of something that can be done at any time, happens at no time. And I have every excuse in the book. I'm a mom of small children, and there is no good time for hours and days of dental work and surgery. I was planning to kick this can down the road until they were at sleepaway camp, many years away. But there's a possibility of my teeth developing real issues and it turning into a painful emergency situation. This week, I put one appointment on the books and was completely dragging my feet on making the bigger appointment until I heard the podcast. I know I'll be happier when this is done. My goal is to have the whole process done by the end of the year. Boy, we've all been there with dental work. I have. And it is so true that it only gets worse. It doesn't get better.
Yes.
So get it done now.
Well, and there's a lot of things where you can do the painful work of scheduling it and dealing with it on your own terms, or you can wait and it becomes an emergency that will inevitably happen at the worst possible moment. Like this often happens with car maintenance things. You delay, and then it's a serious issue at exactly the wrong time.
Yeah.
Kathy said, the advice I love to use to motivate myself with these big tasks is the time will pass anyway. Oftentimes we put off the big tasks as it will take too long, but the time will pass anyway. 5 years to pay down debt, the time will pass anyway. 1 year to complete a course, the time will pass anyway. I know that many people find this a useful thing to think about.
Yes. One of the most impactful, like Dear Abby letters I ever read was someone who at a certain age wanted to be a doctor and said, but at this age, I'll be 40 by the time I'm actually a doctor. And Abby said, well, do you want to be a doctor at 40 or not be a doctor at 40? You're going to be 40 regardless.
You're going to be 40 regardless. Exactly. Yeah. That's such a good example to illustrate that point.
Corinne said, thank you for your tenderness and compassion with this topic. I know my big hard thing, and now I'm going to tackle it one bite at a time.
Yes, the one bite at a time, step by step. Helen said, I'd like to share that one big hard thing I did. In the mid-1970s, I was living with my boyfriend. We'd been together for 4 years. At that time, living together wasn't common. People thought it immoral or bold. My family believed I was going to hell. As our 4th year approached, my boyfriend was content with the status quo. I no longer was. I loved him very much, but couldn't go on simply living together. I had to make an ultimatum. Either we get married or I'd leave. He wasn't an ultimatum kind of guy, and at that time, I had no job, no money, no family nearby, and was unfamiliar with Los Angeles, where we moved. I didn't want to return to my family in here. I told you so. Still, I gave the ultimatum. Am I glad I did that one big hard thing? This June, we celebrated our 50th anniversary. There you go.
Love that, Helen. Thanks, everybody, for writing in. Those are really interesting and thought-provoking.
Yeah, and keep them coming because I would love to hear even more. I think it's so interesting to hear. And I think it's really encouraging for other people because these are the one hard things. And sometimes hearing somebody else's experience can really help us move forward ourselves to do that hard thing.
Well, we heard about needing a doctor's appointment. And coming up, Gretchen, I give myself a demerit for not having made a doctor's appointment. But first, this break.
Cooler days call for layers that last, and Quince is my go-to for quality essentials that feel cozy, look refined, and won't blow your budget. Think $50 Mongolian cashmere, premium denim that fits like a dream, and luxury outerwear that you can wear year after year. These are the pieces that will turn into your fall uniform. I have several of the Quince cashmere sweaters. My favorite is I have a deep red, and then I also have a beautiful green. And I love having color, and I love having anything that's soft to the touch. These are two of the staples of my wardrobe.
I'm eyeing their wool coats. They look designer level, but cost a fraction of the price. And the quality is just as good, if not better. I love Quint, Gretchen.
Yeah.
Find your fall staples at Quince. Go to quince.com/Gretchen for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/Gretchen to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Gretchen. Huge savings on Dell AI PCs are here, and it's a big deal. Why? Because Dell AI PCs with Intel Core Ultra processors are newly designed to help you do more faster. It's pretty amazing what they can do in a day's work. They can generate code, edit images, multitask without lag, draft emails, summarize documents, create live translations. They can even extend your battery life so you never have to worry about forgetting your charger.
It's like having a personal assistant built right into your PC to cover the menial tasks so you can focus on what matters. That's the power of Dell AI with Intel Inside. With deals on Dell AI PCs, like the Dell 16 Plus, starting at $749.99, it's the perfect time to refresh your tech and take back your time. Upgrade your AI PC today by visiting Dell.com/deals. That's Dell.com/deals. Okay, it is time for Demerits and Gold Stars, and this is an even-numbered episode, which means that it is Elizabeth's turn to reveal her demerit. And Elizabeth, you have foreshadowed that you have some doctor-related demerit. So what is this doctor-related demerit?
Yes, Gretchen, it's not very glamorous, but I need to go to the podiatrist.
Okay.
I have a toe that is bothering me, and we've gotten past the point where I just think, okay, if it'll go away in a few days.
Yes.
So I definitively need to go to the podiatrist. Now, I can tell you, I know what my kind of barrier to entry is on this, which is that the podiatrist I went to retired.
Oh.
And she was in the Valley. And the only name I have of another podiatrist is in Beverly Hills, which is a long drive. So I'm sort of like, well, I really should try to find someone in the Valley because it'll be easier, but I have this other name.
Mm-hmm.
So I just need to make a decision and either go to the new person or find somebody else in the Valley. And I haven't, so I'm just frozen.
Can I be a happiness bully for you for a minute?
Please.
I think that you should try to get somebody nearby. It's just so much easier to do something nearby. So maybe the thing that you need to say is, here are 10 people. And we all know the people who are like, I got a guy for that. I know the person for that. I got a recommendation. Right. There's certain people, maybe they're doctors or they're somehow in a world where they would probably be more likely to have names to recommend to you, and reach out and say, do you have somebody to recommend? Because have you asked around widely to see if you could get a recommendation?
I haven't asked anybody.
So that's the thing. I would ask, because if somebody emailed you and was like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you asked. I have the greatest person and she's in Tarzana or whatever, you would do it very quickly.
Yeah.
And that may not happen. Maybe you won't get a great recommendation, but you have a backup plan.
Yeah.
But you might as well ask around. But it's effortful to be like, well, who's the kind of person who would know and who lives nearby and blah, blah, blah. And let me copy paste the same message over and over. It's a nuisance. But then in the end, it'll save you so much time and effort if you find that person near to you.
Well, no, and it's funny because toes are the kind of thing where they're just nag at you and you can sort of deal with it. But we know that if you're walking weird, favoring something, it can impact the other leg. And it can really be a problem. So you really do want to make sure your feet are exactly as they need to be.
you have a lot of back problems, but it turns out it was really with your foot. But Elizabeth, as further encouragement, I want to remind you of an extremely joyful encounter that you had, which is when you were having all that foot pain and you went in and you thought, okay, here I'm embarking on this lifetime of dealing with foot pain. And it turned out you just needed a different kind of tennis shoe and you got it. And then all your problems were solved. And it was the magic solution and easy peasy. Remember?
Yes, which is why I am such a believer in podiatrists, but that is the person who unfortunately retired. So she was so great.
Yes.
So yes, I need to find a new person.
Did you ask if that person has any more recommendations that might be closer to you?
I haven't done a thing.
Okay. Well, start with her because she might. I mean,
Yeah, I'll start with her office.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't even know how I would start with that person.
No, I get it. It's unfortunate that doctor is retired, but the good news is you have the pleasant associations of sometimes you're just like, oh, every time I do this, it's a very unpleasant situation. At least that time you got an easy answer.
Yes.
So that's...
I certainly would rather have to do this than get my wisdom teeth out, which I did when I was in my 20s. So
yes, so did I.
It's just now that I've said it out loud, Gretchen.
Yep.
This is my accountability. Now I need to make my appointment
Good.
on the immediate to-do list.
That's good. Well, and on the immediate to-do list is just to get a recommendation. So you're not even going to the doctor. You're just getting a recommendation. Yes. Okay. Well, I want you to report back. Everybody's on the edge of their seat about your toe. Okay.
Yes. Okay, Gretchen, what is your gold star this week?
Okay. My gold star goes to all those people out there who go to work at a hard time of day or night. Early morning or late at night. And I was thinking about this because I often take the first flight out if I'm traveling. I just like to do that. I like to get to the airport and get it done. They often say that you're less likely to run into canceled or delayed flights. Often the plane is already in the airport. And so allegedly they say that's a good time to fly. And the funny thing is, even though I've done this many times, when I see that I have a flight that's departing at 6 a.m. or so, I had this idea. Like I always do this when I leave Kansas City. When we were there most recently, I took the 6 a.m. flight out. And in my mind, I'm going to arrive at this airport that I'm the only person there. There's nobody there. It's just this empty wasteland because it's so early in the morning. But of course, it's thronged with people. It's packed with other people that are flying. But for the people flying, we do that very irregularly. But they're the people who show up there day after day after day, and they are on it, dressed, ready, smiling, on their jobs, incredibly early. And then, I live in New York City, and what's funny about New York City is I think a lot of people feel like it's dangerous, but if you're used to New York City, you feel much safer in New York City than you do in other cities because there's always people around. Taffy had some digestion issues, and so I had to get up and take her outside at 2:30 in the morning. There were people there. There's safe, pleasant activity happening. And these are people often going to work, coming from work, or doing their work. There was a whole crew working on underground, electricity, some kind of cables. They were like working under the street.
Yeah.
Clearly they were doing in the middle of the night so that it wouldn't interfere with traffic. But here was a whole team of people working away in deepest night. And I thought, that is a hard job. So I just want to say gold star to people who work. It's hard to be off sunup to sundown routine.
Yeah.
It's hard on the body. It's hard in life. And they do so much hard work in the world. They all deserve a big gold star.
Yes, gold star. And I agree about New York. I feel safer in New York than anywhere else in the world, for sure.
People who've never been there are like, ooh, it's so dangerous. And everything. I'm like, no, come walk around. It really feels, because there's like the 24-hour corner stores open. You're like, if you get scared, just run in there and, buy yourself a pack of chewing gum and make conversation with the person behind the counter. You'll feel better.
Yeah, no, there's always people out and about.
There's always people out and about. Okay, the resource for this week. So very exciting. Episode 2 of my new podcast, my other podcast. Elizabeth, you've had 2 podcasts for a long time because you've had Happier in Hollywood, but now I have 2 too. Since You Asked with Lori Gottlieb, episode 2 just dropped. It is an advice podcast, but we try to put a lot of spins on traditional advice. There's some that are just sort of classic. Somebody asks a question and we give advice, but then there's all kinds of responses and polls, and we try to really make it fresh. And we would love for people to give it a listen, rate, review if you like it. That really helps people discover the show. If you follow it or subscribe, that also really helps the show, especially a new show.
Yeah, so you can just search in your podcast app for Since You Asked, subscribe, follow. Gretch, I love the polls. I'm loving hearing.
Oh, good.
34% of people would do this. 15% of people would do that. It's just interesting.
It is.
To hear people kind of weigh in that way.
Well, and it's fun because we try to pick the kinds of things that are like ordinary things that people have extremely strong opinions about, but a lot of people disagree. So it's fun to try to think of what the polls should be about as well. Yeah, and if you follow us on social media, you can see the polls because we put them up every week or so. So I'm at Gretchen Rubin, and it's Lori Gottlieb, author, with an underscore there somewhere. Very easy to find. So we're having a great time. So Elizabeth, what are we reading? What are you reading?
Gretch, I am catching up on War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. I got a few days behind.
And I am reading Swimming Studies by Leanne Shapton. And that's it for this episode of Happier. Remember to try this at home. Take the trip. Let us know if you've tried it and if it worked for you. Or maybe now you're going to plan a trip. Let us know.
Thanks to our executive producer, Chuck Reed, and everyone at Lemonada. And if you haven't subscribed to Lemonada Premium yet, remember that you can listen completely ad-free. Just tap that subscribe button on Apple Podcasts or go to lemonadapremium.com.
And here's your rhyming reminder. It's true for Since You Asked, and it's true for Happier. If you like the show, tell someone you know. Word of mouth really is the best.
Until next week, I'm Elizabeth Kraft.
And I'm Gretchen Rubin. Thanks for joining us. Onward and upward. Elizabeth, I think for us, planning the trip, taking the trip, is I think the reading retreat just has to be on the yearly calendar because we could do it at many different times, depending on like your schedule and my schedule. It fits in very nicely, but I do feel like that's a trip that we will really enjoy taking.
Oh, yeah. No, that's every year for sure. And last time it was 2 nights, but maybe it's a 3-night trip every year.
I think that is right. 3 nights. 1 night would be good. 3 nights is, I think, best. From the Onward Project.
Hi, Gretchen, Craig Robinson, and my little sister Michelle here. We host a new podcast called IMO with Michelle Obama and Craig Robinson. We know you're the queen of giving advice, so we wanted to get a few tips from you.
You know, Gretchen, a lot of our listeners are going through some major life changes. What advice do you have for folks who are trying to stay grounded in the midst of major life transitions?
Craig and Michelle, I am so happy to be talking to you. Here are a few questions that might help us gain perspective. So consider questions like this. What activities take up my time but are not particularly useful or stimulating for me? Do I spend a lot of time on something that's important to someone else, but is not very important to me? If I could magically change one habit in my life, what would I choose? And here's a question. Would I like to have more time in solitude, restorative solitude, or would I like to have more time with friends? You know, just thinking about questions like this can help us start to figure out how we might make our lives happier. With greater self-knowledge, we're better able to make hard decisions that reflect ourselves, our own nature, our own interests, our own values. In my own case, I have found that the more my life reflects my nature, the happier I get, and the more grounded I feel when I'm going through a period of major change or transition. For more great advice, search for IMO with Michelle Obama and Craig Robinson wherever you get podcasts. You can listen to Issa Rae on letting go of certain friendships, Kiki Palmer on why disappointment is actually the key to career success, Seth and Lauren Rogan on caring for aging parents, and so many more.